Oh no. Maybe they don't have their chat. Look behind your phone. Is that?
Oh, perfect. Or can we read it? That's the next one. Like if I go to the next slide, can you read any of that? Yeah, try this. What about something like that? Can you see that?
have any idea when the rest of the people arrive? Or something they get time?
I did it. I wrote how I don't understand, but if I don't write it, I might just
All right, guys, I think we're going to get started here. I wanted to wait for the rest of the retail team, but I honestly don't know when they're going to be here, so let's get rolling. Hopefully they'll show up.
Music, please.
Yeah, drop. All right, sweet. All right, guys. Well, first of all, welcome to our first ever town hall. Yeah, so I mean, this is pretty crazy. There's a lot of people here, even a lot of faces I've never seen. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Vitaly. I'm the CEO. Hey, listen, somebody might not know because I don't recognize some of you. So, that's kind of one of the amazing things. The growth has just been absolutely ridiculous, and that's why we need to do this kind of thing. We need to make sure that everybody kind of understands where we're at and where we're trying to go. So, just to kind of quickly introduce the objectives for today. I mean, the number one objective is just communication. Anytime we've ever sat down with the team, I would say that that's probably the number one thing is people are like, well, more communication, and I think that this would be a really kind of impactful way to start that. And, the goal is to keep doing this. So we'll probably do them every 6 months and make sure that everybody's up to date. On top of that, I wanted to make sure that everybody kind of really knows how Vitaly actually started. You can go to the biography on the website and see little things, but you might not actually know the full story. And I think that it's important for you to know that. I just want to quickly talk to the 2017 accomplishments, our 2018 goals, why our products are actually as good as they are, because a lot of people don't really know the details on that stuff. And then I want to talk probably at length about Vitaly 3.0, and that's something that Zach will talk about a lot as well. That's just kind of a cheesy working title, but it represents a major change that we're working on and we're about to make. So I think I'll dive in from there. First off, I just want to say thank you to Andrea and Stevie for setting this up. Really appreciate that. And of course, thank you to everyone for coming here on a Sunday evening. I know this is probably not your first choice for what to do on Sunday night. I want to watch like Peaky Blinders or something. And then thanks to all the managers who are going to come up and speak. Okay. So I'm just going to dive into our story. And apologies, I'm probably just going to be doing like a lot of reading because I got a ton of stuff to say, and I'm not a professional speech writer or speaker. Okay, so to kick things off, I just want to tell you about how we got here today. While some of you probably know the story quite intimately, people like Zach, Mike, Jay, who have been there from the start, others likely don't know more than, like I said, what's on the bio. So it all started about 8 years ago. I was graduating university. I decided to go backpacking through Southeast Asia. Before that, I'd been balancing 3 jobs and my education, which was full-time at Ryerson. Towards the end of my education, I started to have these recurring dreams about a Buddha under a Bodhi tree. I know very little about Southeast Asia, or knew very little, but I knew that it was a home of Buddhism, and something just kind of drove me there. I'm not saying that I went there because I wanted to be Buddhist or anything. There's just something kind of calling me to be there. While I was there, I stumbled upon a village in Bali called Ubud, where I was inspired by carvers and silversmiths. They were making jewelry. It was really cool stuff, but nothing I'd ever wear. And so after commissioning a local artisan to make a 2-finger ring that I'd drawn on a napkin, literally, I was immediately hooked on creating products. I drew something really, really sketchy. I'm not very good at drawing. And 2 days later, he brought me the first prototype, and it was horrible, but I was like, wow, I can see something that was in my mind. This is now a real thing. I ended up spending 4 weeks in that village when I'd only planned to be there for 2 days, just because I was so hooked on creating products. I ended up bringing home a handful of rings as gifts for friends and received an amazing response. Some of my friends were initially scared of them. Like 2-finger rings 7 years ago was not exactly a normal thing. But when they went out wearing them, they were pretty happy with the response. I remember that pretty clearly. They'd wear them out. And, women would notice them wearing it, and that was it. We're pretty well to start things. At some point, I happened to be in a store on Queen Street where I met the owner, and I showed her the rings I had in my backpack. She ended up buying all of them off me on the spot. She just told me to make up prices. I didn't even have a brand name or any kind of concept. I didn't even know what wholesale was at the time. And I guess that was the day that Vitaly was actually born. So I went home that day with no rings and emailed the guy who originally made them for me. Said I'm going to send some new designs. Sent those designs shortly thereafter. I drew them in paint, literally. And I sent him the last $3,000 I had in the student credit line. It wasn't long before I realized I needed more money and helped grow my idea. Fortunately, my long-term friend and roommate, Jason, your chief operations officer, decided he was interested in getting involved. he put the last $10,000 he had to his name to the business, and we went to work. I met Zach Vitiello around that time, and he started working with us on doing lookbook shoots just for fun. He had just gotten back from a big trip from India, had some pretty cool photos, and he's like, yeah, I could probably take some photos for you. It was also around that time that Mikey was like, hey, like, can I start slinging some of these rings for you? And he's now your director of sales, and he's been doing that ever since. From there, we doubled or tripled in size every year. But we didn't start adding people until about 2015. At that time, we added about 5 more people. It was around that time that we also introduced clothing, which was only supposed to be affordable, unique t-shirt silhouettes. Obviously, we've expanded from there. We also introduced clocks and colors around the same time, which was just supposed to be some little passion project that I was doing that didn't really fit with the Vitaly kind of aesthetic. That's obviously gone and done its thing too. It's really, really like on fire right now. I think we've got up like 10,000 followers in a week or something on Instagram. So it's really, really going. We added about 20 more people the following year, and we've jumped up to just over 70 by 2018. So the growth is really crazy. Again, that's why we're here today. It's difficult to describe how much happened over those years, how much we grew as a company and as individuals, how much we had to learn and how much we still need to learn. We continue to do our best, but the pace that we grew over those last few years has been challenging and rewarding, to say the least. And that brings us to 2018. So 2018 will go down in this timeline as the year of focus. The goal is to slow down so we can rip off Band-Aids and we can, fix a lot of the things that we've just been glossing over and just, that are probably going to cause long-term problems if we don't fix them now. It's going to be the year that we focus on communication, on asking why we're doing things, and on creating the best, most innovative product we've ever created. I think that it's easy to forget what the kind of big picture, big mission was and what got us here in the first place, and that is product. So we've really been working very, very hard on improving the product again and innovating it and making sure that it's unique and will actually turn heads. And I think we've got some pretty amazing stuff to show in 2018, so we're pretty excited about that. And the final thing is social responsibility. This is going to be a really, really big thing for us, and we're going to touch on that more later today, and that kind of goes with our whole Vitaly 3.0 movement. So before we dive into to today and before we dive into kind of future plans, I just wanted to reiterate some of the accomplishments in 2017. There's really way too many to actually talk about. So I've just kind of added some here that I just want to go over quickly. Some pretty amazing things. For example, we had countless large-scale events and pop-up shops, including events as far as Los Angeles. We redefined our brand identity. That will come with the Vitaly 3.0 thing, our who, what, and why. We caught up our seasonal planning to the point where we're already planning spring 19 clothing and jewelry, which is really wild for us. We produced incredible photo shoots that we really can't even remember all of them. I don't think
there were 12. There were 12.
12 shoots, yeah. Everywhere from Tokyo, Hong Kong, Lisbon, etc. Zach remembers all. I remember. We launched several new product lines, which is just probably way too ambitious, but we pulled it off somehow. That would be, leather jackets, denim, and more. We opened our first international warehouse in Portugal. That's pretty crazy. Henry got to go to Portugal and discover his obsession with espresso. I think Neil did the same. And we also relocated our entire Toronto warehouse to a much larger warehouse, which I was just at yesterday, and it's absolutely ridiculous. It's 4 times the size of what we had last year. And somebody was saying, I think we're running out of space. I laughed at them, but then I went there yesterday and we're running out of space. What's up, Neil? Some more accomplishments here. This is, I think, a Neil thing again. We reduced North American Express shipping rates by 50% and International Express by 40%, allowing us to do a lot more rapid shipping. I think this is really important for us. We're trying to, compete with the Amazons of the world. We opened up a store in Montreal, no big deal. We also acquired JRSB on Yonge Street and turned that into a Vitaly store. On top of all of that, we opened multiple long-term pop-ups, including Yorkdale and Square One, which are absolutely killing it.
And West End.
That's this year though. But we have just opened up another store at West Edmonton Mall, so pretty crazy. And we grew from a team of about 25 to 70, so no big deal there. And then one thing that I do want to speak to, and I think we should all be really proud of, is I think we've massively improved communications with the introduction of things like Slack and global reports, and we're going to continue to try and improve on that. And I think this is just one more example of where we're going to continue to try and improve on that. One thing I do want to note, typically with a meeting like this, the goal would be to have a big open forum so you guys can ask questions. We didn't slot that in only because we figured we have a lot to cover, but if we do get through it, which I suspect we will, we'll be opening up the floor for questions and stuff as well. All right, so here's some just kind of fun slides to show some of the stores. Wow, what's funny about this?
What are you showing about? Throw us under the bus.
Yeah, that's pretty sick. That was a good time. All right. Okay. Sorry, I'm like struggling to read my paper. It's pretty dark. So. Okay, so Vitaly 3.0. This is a really, really big thing that I wanted to talk about here, and Zach's got about 20 more minutes worth on top of what I'm going to. So it's a big deal. When I started Vitaly, my goal was literally just to sell enough two-finger rings that I could pay for another backpacking trip. When Jason joined, our goal changed, and it was to create a company that could pay us a livable wage, or we could work for ourselves and just be creative and enjoy life. Over the last few years, though, Vitaly has grown well beyond what we could have imagined, and it's no longer just about us. In fact, it's not even just about our team or our customers either. That realization has resulted in what we consider our third large change as a company, and what we've internally coined as Vitaly 3.0. Again, just a working title that's somehow stuck. Vitaly 3.0 represents adulthood for our company. It represents the type of consideration and focus that only comes after your teenage years. Like most teenagers, we had a huge growth spurt. We had a mini identity crisis, as most of you probably did too. I for sure did. And in some ways, as anyone who still has a ton to learn does, we acted irresponsibly, and also very responsibly in other ways. But there was a lot of craziness. Now we're aiming to reach adulthood. We have a family now. That's all of you guys and all the people that support us. And with family comes responsibility. So there's a lot of things that we want to kind of step up and improve. So I think Zach just made a fancy little slide here. You can see, yeah. Vitaly 1.0 is like old wood jewelry and just kind of whatever we were doing. Vitaly 2.0, a little bit more classed up, and Vitaly 3.0, you'll be getting a little bit of insight on as far as the aesthetics go very soon. All right. So with the launch of Vitaly 3.0, there will be several powerful changes, including a new clearly defined mission statement, a new green mandate, a new social responsibility mandate, an extremely focused visual brand identity, and a new product development strategy that puts jewelry first again and puts innovation and concepts above all else. So, who is Vitaly? It might seem silly, but over the last couple of years, it has become challenging to answer people when they ask things like, who's Vitaly? What are you guys all about? But it should be incredibly easy. The challenge with growing the way we have is that where all the creative energy was initially simple and the output was minimal, the creative team has grown and the output has expanded exponentially and has resulted in confusion. To gain back that focus, the focus that we once had, Zach and I have worked hard to redefine who we are and who we want to be, and that's what he and I will be talking about. So, as you can see here, we've got our kind of who we are statement and our mission statement. So what we do is very simple. We do contemporary accessories and clothing, architecturally inspired, sustainably made. We weren't always sustainable. This is something that we're working very, very hard to change. It's something that needs to change big time in fashion, and it's not something we were ever fully aware of. But again, I'll talk about that a little bit more as I go. Our new mission statement. The team behind Vitaly is driven by the ethos, do better, be better. We strive to be recognized for great design and exceptional quality. In pursuit of that mission, we also aim to connect with a greater community of creatives and to minimize the impact fashion has on the environment through sustainable production techniques, recycling, and charitable donation programs. Again, I'll expand on a lot of that soon, but I think it's important for all of you to kind of know this stuff. So I'm going to speak a little bit about our new green mandate. Sorry. Some of you may have already noticed, but Vitaly is doing what we can to go green. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. Are we taking the steps we can to improve our footprint on this planet? Yes. Though there's always going to continue to be more and more that we can do. Some changes that we've already made include switching our clothing production to Portugal, where we're using award-winning clean wash and dye houses. We've switched to organic fabrics for our core collection. We've changed all of our packaging and tags to recycled paper. Huge difference when it comes to our jewelry, from the rubber boxes to the new packaging that's on the way. Unfortunately, with the packaging that's on the way, the first round is an in-between filler because it didn't perfect the original design, or the new design, sorry. We're ensuring we get as much product as possible on boats instead of flying it overseas. This saves an enormous amount of energy, like exponential amounts. It's really, really incredible. There's still plenty of things we can do to improve, but these things take time and we still have a lot to learn. The reality is that fashion is extremely hard in the environment, but we all need clothing. While we can improve our footprint through production, the best thing we can do is make high quality products that last. Fast fashion products are designed to be exactly that, fast. And it's those products that have devastating effects on our environment, and that that got a clap, sweet.
Just press space.
Yeah, just trying to make it full screen.
It's full screen.
So that's just one step that we're taking. That's a way that we can show I guess, the world what we're aiming to do. But again, there's still a lot that we need to do. So before I hand over the mic to Zach, there's just one more thing that I want to speak to. This is something that's very, very, very early, but something that we're working on. One of the ideas that we have right now to make sure that clothes aren't just completely going to waste is exchange programs. So some of the considerations are taking things like taking back product from customers, old product, for example, giving them a discount on new product, and then product and sending it to places in need. That, of course, is speaking to clothing. An idea that I had, and it's still very early phases, I don't even know if it's possible, was to take back old jewelry, and same thing, we give a discount for that jewelry to whoever's purchased something new. We take that jewelry and we send it to places, maybe it's South America or to impoverished families in other countries, and we allow them to sell it in their markets to kind of stimulate their economy and help them kind of start their own small businesses. I think that's way more impactful than just sending money. It empowers them, and maybe we can even use that as an opportunity to help people learn how to actually start their own businesses. We can potentially take the fabrics and grind them down into other products. I've seen this done really well. Nudie does an amazing job with a lot of this stuff. And have been quite inspiring, them in Patagonia. But they're actually making rugs out of their old denim, which is really cool. And then, often anyone who works in the warehouse, they've probably seen this happen. We'll get product that it's just not what we were supposed to get, and it just sits there. We don't know what to do with it. So we're going to try and find those things that are unfit for sale in our markets. We're just going to try and find a home for them, send them to countries where people need them. I was just in Nicaragua, and they were devastated by a disaster about 6 months ago, and there's a lot of people who just have no clothing. So we could be looking for opportunities to get that stuff over to them. All right, that's it for now from me. I'm gonna let Zach take over.
Hey everybody, just give me 1 sec. Oh, damn, you're not supposed to read that. Rolling around. It's exactly like this photo shows. So, as Shane mentioned, I joined the company in 2014 as the creative director. I was working in advertising, and he poached me out of that business, which was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. So I head up the creative department here, which is comprised of Jay Nugent here, who's our art director and graphic designer, and now Scott, who's our go-to stylist and production assistant. And then a lot of people kind of help out and jump in whenever they want to get artsy, like Joe, our marketing manager especially. So, yeah, as I said, I spent a lot of time rolling around in the dirt. So when I came on board, Vitaly was a very different looking company than it is today. A lot of the successful brands that you know and love were probably but the jewelry itself actually wasn't that different when you think about it. So the jewelry was sleek and contemporary. So when I came on board, what I wanted to do was work with Shane and Jason and Mikey to kind of develop a look that made sense with what the product actually looked like. And that's when Vitaly 2.0 was born, which is the stage that Shane kind of mentioned we're in right now. So this was the next iteration of the website. So you can see that drastic kind of change of just cleaning everything up, and it came with a new logo and everything that Joe, as I said, honorary member of the creative team, designed. I think they're probably the most important thing that everybody in this room should commit to memory. It's 8 words, and at the end of this day, I would love for you all to know them offhand. So when someone asks you what we do, this is what you should say. We make clothing and accessories that are architecturally inspired and sustainably made. And that really, what I'm here to do tonight is just explain what those 8 words mean from a branding and aesthetic standpoint. So when we say something is architecturally inspired, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, probably, because jewelry and clothing really don't with skyscrapers. But when you look at these 3 photos side by side, things start to make a bit more sense. So on the left is a school in downtown LA, on the right is an opera house in China, and in the middle is our sewer pendant. Look how similar the forms are, the way straight lines complement curves, the way negative space complements texture. The sewer is about 3/4 of an inch wide, and the other 2 are slightly bigger. But the similarities are there. So this is what we mean when we say architecturally inspired. So knowing that the product is full of these little details that have come from architecture, whether it's the asymmetrical seam that runs through our retooled trucker jacket or the angular planes of the kunai pendant, it's obvious that architecture is in our brand's DNA. In fact, over the course of the last 2 months, Shane mentioned this, we spent a lot, sent a lot of emails, and they were really long emails too, like longer than this presentation emails. To kind of get down to the bottom of what Vitaly really is. We started thinking about elements that had been part of the brand since day one, because we didn't want to pull something out of thin air and completely reinvent ourselves for Vitaly 3.0. We wanted to dive back into what we'd started and what we believed in from the get-go. So the one thing that we could fully 100% agree on no matter what, and the thing that we distilled it all down to, was this idea of architecture being a part of the brand, taking it and informing our product design and the overall creative direction. So if you take a scroll through our Instagram feed, which I do every so often just to kind of remind us how we got here, and go all the way back to the beginning, you will see that we've been posting pictures of buildings since pretty much the beginning. Those pictures that are often our most engaged posts. Our fans seem to love them. We love those. We love architecture. My dad's an architect, so it kind of just feels natural to us to go that way. It's become obvious now that we are a brand that's heavily indebted to the world of architecture, and more specifically contemporary architecture. So, but the thing is that, as Shane spent the first few minutes talking about in the whole green mandate, there's another side to the Vitaly identity now, and that's the environmentally conscious side. So how do those 2 things come together? Is what we'll spend a lot of time thinking about in the last little while. Visually, they sort of seem at odds with one another. You've the harsh contemporary buildings and lush, beautiful landscapes, and those 2 things don't generally go together. So we started trying to find the point where these 2 entities meet. And we realized that the time and place where we always experience both the contemporary design and the natural world is when we're traveling. And Shane talked a lot about travel in his beginning statements about going to Bali and finding that. So travel has always been a huge part of the brand. So that kind of leads us into getting down to the basis of what Vitaly really is. So, I went too far. So one great thing about working with a growing brand is obviously that you get to travel a lot, quite a bit if you're me, a lot if you're Shane. So we've gone a lot of places together and seen a lot of the world, and in doing so we've experienced a lot of urban centers that are filled with a lot of incredible buildings. So different cultures build their buildings differently, and those influences work our way into our product design and overall creative direction. So all this travel has bred within us a love for the world, and that's kind of where Vitaly 3.0 came in, this idea that, world travelers and urban explorers, of course, we have a natural predisposition to enjoy the natural world. And it turns out that we had been living and breathing this brand identity all along without even realizing it. We hadn't put it into words yet. You know, for example, last year we went to Tokyo solely to explore the city, eat some ramen, and do a photo shoot during cherry blossom season. So this was really, you know, if you think about it, urban exploration. It was looking at the natural world, the cherry blossoms, and feeling some sort of appreciation for it. So it all makes sense and comes around full circle into Vitaly 3.0. So here's another example of urban exploration. It took me 3 trips to Hong Kong to find this location. I walked around the city on 3 different occasions trying to find it, and I really wanted to go. I'd seen it on Instagram, but I'd never seen a brand shoot with a model there, so I really wanted to get a model and go there. And you know, that kind of appreciation for the architecture, appreciation for traveling and exploring the world has been, you know, the defining characteristic of our brand up until this point. So that brings us to the present day, the launch of Vitaly 3.0 and our SS18 collection. So I want to talk a little bit about the theme of it, and in a nutshell, here's what it's about. It's about the intersection between contemporary architecture and our natural environment. Essentially, it's the summation of everything we have talked about up until this point. And here's your first glimpse of what that's going to look like. So this is the title slide of the lookbook that Jay Nugent put together. So this campaign was shot in Portugal, which made sense, obviously, because we've shifted all of our production to Portugal for clothing. The house that we shot at was a beautiful example of minimalistic contemporary architecture. It was made entirely from concrete, but it was situated on top of a hill overlooking a lush ravine and surrounded by trees. So it had this juxtaposition that was actually a perfect way for us to visualize what both sides of this brand identity, the environmentally inspired side plus the environmentally conscious side. Sorry, I just lost my spot there. Yeah, so you can see here, we're pulling in colors from the collection. Those who work at the warehouse have seen most of the collection at this point. You have the clay, the salt water, and the shade. Obviously, the names of the pieces kind of explain that, but those are all things that we see in nature. The colors are derived from the natural world up against the concrete. They have this kind of interesting juxtaposition. So that's really what the brand mandate was all about, and we were able to put that into something actual tangible here. So here's a few more slides just to kind of give you the vibe of what we're going to be releasing next week. Let's see the building, the house against the trees, plants and everything. I just want to play quickly what that looks like in motion because Joe put together, it's still a rough draft of what the final lookbook video is going to be next week when we release it, but Joe did a really great job and I'd love to just play it quickly. So that will be coming out very soon. Okay, so you can see the animation at the end there. It spells the word out, elemental. So we really were drawn to this word for the name of the collection because it's super interesting and pertinent to what Vitaly is. So first definition is of relating to or being the basic or essential constituent of something. So think about how that relates to our product offering. Think about how our core collection of everyday tees and sweaters are the essential or elemental part of any wardrobe. They're the building blocks on which outfits are actually made. And then the second definition pertaining to the agencies, forces, or phenomena of physical nature or the nature of the 4 elements is again a perfect summation of everything that we've talked about up until this point. So the green mandate and our decision to go green. So we really love this word as the title of our collection. So whenever you guys are talking about, whether it's in the stores or in the warehouse, talking about SS18, that's the elemental collection. So Shane mentioned earlier that part of this launch was a complete redo of every single consumer touch point up to the packaging and most of the packaging really went. The amount of work that had to go into all redoing all of these parts was insane. This is the packaging that is not coming out next week, unfortunately. It's really nice looking, and we wish it was coming out, but production just is never what you think it's going to be. But this will be coming out with our next shipment of jewelry, and it's we really didn't know if we could pull off a cardboard box and make it look as sleek as our current packaging does. But as Shane said, you can basically tell that stuff is killing the environment when you look at it. Our current packaging, it has that like rubbery texture to it. So we were actually able to pull off something that I think looks even more premium, more designed, more contemporary, and it's made out of 100% recycled material. So that was a huge win. You're going to start seeing this on all of our poly bags. This bag is made from 100% recycled material. That's really nice. And it's also recyclable, which is amazing. So now instead of just tossing out poly bags in the garbage, we should be recycling them. And on the back of every tag, it says that the paper is FSC certified 100% recycled. So this is also on the bottom of all the jewelry packaging, which is fantastic. So FSC, for anybody that doesn't know, is just a certification process for paper that means that it's recycled. It's basically just a watchdog making sure that people are actually calling recycled paper recycled. So that was a huge undertaking, but something that we really hope that all of our consumers notice. So you also, so this actually, sorry, skipped ahead, but we're also gonna be rolling out some new product photography that Scott and I worked on this week, which we're really excited about. It's been a while since we've re-explored what our product photography could look like, and we wanted to take some new photos that basically encapsulate the whole theme, and we were able to do that with these pictures. The floating jewelry is meant to kind of mirror the airiness of nature, whereas the harsh concrete is obviously the harsh contemporary side of the brand. So these are just 4 examples here. So these are some of the new pieces. I'm not sure if anybody's seen, but this ring on the right side is called the Dash, and it's really, really cool. What's that?
Jack was asking if it's rose gold or back. She got me saying.
No rose gold. Sorry, Jack. So the question then becomes, where do we go from here? How do we take this into the next season and seasons after that without boring our consumers to death, beating them over the head with the same thing? So our FW18 collection basically tries to answer this. And it's funny enough, actually, this is the first time that we've ever been fully ahead of season. So Martin, our production manager, who couldn't be here tonight because he got deported. R.I.P. Made a heroic effort to get this done earlier than we've ever had a collection done, which allowed us time to shoot a lookbook, which we've never done before. So a lookbook is not a campaign, but a lookbook in the sense of just these are the outfits kind of put together, every piece. It was a really cool experience, something that we haven't done before. And obviously, as I said at the beginning, we're still learning how to be professional. This is something that every single brand in the world does, and this is our first time doing it, so that's okay. But basically, you can see through these photos that both the clothing and the accessories are a little bit more edgy and more avant-garde than anything that we've done up until this point. So we really want to get our edge back. That was something that Shane and I were really adamant about moving forward. We've always had tattoos as part of our culture, but we used the idea of a double finger ring, as Shane said, used to be scary to a lot of people. And nowadays, it's not. So we're trying to revise and go back to the drawing board and get a lot of that edge back. And we're going to talk a little bit about how we're going to do that through product design. But anyways, just in the meantime, the FW18 lookbook may not have at the offset the architectural underpinnings, but LED tube lights are something that you find in a lot of contemporary buildings, and the way that they're arranged with the slants and the clean cross sections give it that super designed look that we have become known for. So what is that going to look like from a campaign standpoint? Where are we going to shoot it from? We're currently in the midst of planning and processing this. We don't know if we're going to be able to shoot at these exact places, but basically Scott and I are looking into these incredible brutalism is an architecture movement that was kind of a response to clean modernism. So looking at those clothes, the edginess of them, the attitude of them, the attitude of the accessories, we want something that mirrors that. And we obviously want to go back to our brand identity and look into the world of architecture to do so. So we're hoping to find some of these monuments or something like them that can kind of bring the clothes to life while keeping us in touch with the identity that we've already established. So this leads me to the final topic that I really want to cover tonight, which is how our product design fits into this larger brand identity. So as we approach designing new collections, the theme of the collection is dictated by a number of things. So we consider what's going on in the world, how we feel as individuals, and what we think our fans and friends are going to want to actually wear. So the theme can change quite a lot from collection to collection. But what we want to do nowadays is and focus, because before we were just kind of releasing pieces that seemed like they would be fun to release. But now we want to try and keep 4 key elements in play that will help us keep cohesiveness with every product drop we do. So those are architectural details, geometric shapes, avant-garde thinking, and a focus on accessories. Now, since accessories are where we started and the thing that helps set us apart from all of our clothing competitors, and there are a lot of clothing competitors, but not a lot of competitors in the accessory market, we want to make the return into focusing on pushing boundaries with accessory design. This is something that we want to do that goes beyond following current trends. We want to actually set those trends. So here's a few pictures from the lookbook, close-ups that you can kind of see where we're going with it. These are, at the moment, not final pieces. These are just like designs and samples that we've kind of been messing around with. But what you can see is this moving, the direction is moving towards larger, chunkier pieces with an emphasis on unique chain configurations. So this right now is kind of beginning, but we want to be the first people to like blast people over the head with it. We want to be the first brand to like kind of put this on the map in any meaningful way. So obviously in seeing these images though, it's a bit harder to find the thread of our brand identity. So unlike the suet, these pieces don't look overly architectural. But to combat this, and we want to ensure cohesion, of course, our visual assets for the collection will always incorporate buildings, textures, structures like the ones that I showed, and relate them back to the world of architecture. So we'll also be working over the next few months to incorporate architecturally inspired details into the product whenever possible, such as just, even if it's something as simple as adding a really cool geometric clasp to these pieces that make them our own and not something that nobody else can own. So we're all looking forward to seeing how far we can push the limits of our own creativity as we kind of develop this brand identity and continue to push it as far as we can. And before I go though, I've got one last thing that I want to talk about, and that's good old clocks and colors. As Shane mentioned, it's become a bit of a powerhouse, one that we can no longer ignore its importance to all of us and our jobs. So, like a fine wine, clocks and colors never gets old. It's this is a statement that we've been working on that kind of encapsulates Clocks and Colors is a premium, zero fucks given storytelling jewelry brand. It's inspired by history, rock and roll, motorcycles, and tattoo culture. So, because of that, it just gets better with age, and there are no immediate plans to revamp the identity of clocks. It is one of those things that is tried, tested, and true. It's been around, that style of design and style of visual aesthetics has been around for such a long time that it's cemented in the identity of the brand and also in the consumer mind of what that needs to be. But one thing that we can say is that we will continue to go absolutely ham with every photo shoot, everything that we do. And it's been, up until this point, we've really set the bar high with some things that we've done. So it just, the handmadeness of it, the flamethrowers, the vintage airplanes. But I don't think that any presentation should ever end without playing this video. So I'm just going to leave it at this because there's really no other way. There's just no other way to leave than on a high note, right? I hope that got everybody fired up for all of the amazing stuff that we have coming down the pipeline. Spring summer launches next week, so get excited for that. And we just awesome stuff coming every which way. Woo!
Not quite as tall as these guys. So, I think everyone knows me because I do know everyone in here. My name's Jason. I handle the accounting, the operations, and kind of overview the warehouse, although admittedly Henry and Neil pretty much run that one. So, funny story about the clocks and colors. I was in Aurelia.
Do you have a presentation?
No, I do not have a presentation. I do not have slides. I will lead into why I do not have slides in a second. So I was in Aurelia and Shane texted me. So I jumped in my car, drove 2.5 hours to Niagara Falls, expecting to see a photo shoot, one of many photo shoots. And as I was pulling around the corner, there was a giant fireball that took up in the sky, and I was like, hey, this might actually be crazy. And when I got there, there were, was it 50?
62.
There were 62 people on set working on this, like an ambulance, an animal trainer. It's crazy. So that was crazy. So Zach, why do I not have slides? What I'm going to talk about is going to talk about the history of where we've warehoused things. As I said, I handle operations and accounting. I do not feel like talking about accounting and numbers up here, or I'll fall asleep. I can tell you that was a good dinner. I hope everyone liked it. I'll talk about accounting later about that. Okay, so what I want to talk about is Shane alluded to the fact that we've grown 2 to 3 times every year, again and again, and that we've never really taken a year to get things under control. And so I'm going to lead into a little bit of the history of where we had all of our stuff and how we tried to make it work in the past. So 2011, as Shane mentioned, we were roommates at the time. We were living on Gerrard Street in a place called Blue Cliff Place. 4-bedroom house, and in one bedroom there was one box, half the size of this table. That was all the product we had. So that was the first order of the Friends collection. When someone ordered something, I would walk in there, open the box, it wasn't even laid out, and I would just reach around in it until I found the right item, and then we'd mail it out. That's where we started. Fast forward a little bit from there. In 2012, we all got a house on Argyle Street together, and it had a basement. Half the basement was about 6.5 feet, and the other half was 5 feet. So you can imagine we set up this operation down there, and we're like, oh, look at this, we're a real company now. We have a basement. We have 4 IKEA shelves. We have about 800 rings, and they're all laid out in their own spots. You don't have to dig around the box and find them. We are professionals. So not too long after that, we did our first pop-up on Ossington Street. I know some people would have been there back then. And there was a crazy amount of rain happening. And it was one of our party nights, so I decided to go back first, have what's called first shower, change, and then come back to the party. And when I got back, I noticed that the basement was flooding. So I went downstairs, all of our IKEA shelves, product, everything was floating in water. And I called Shane, kind of screaming on the phone. I was like, we're fucked, it's over, it's done. And the biggest issue was that all of the power bars and all the lights were still on, even though they were underwater. So luckily I thought about that for a second, realized I can't jump into this giant pool of water and try and save things. So we pulled the breaker, called everyone back from the pop-up, scavenged what we could, and we learned one lesson that day, which is, and luckily through a coincidence, because we didn't plan it out, is you always put your crappiest product on the bottom shelf. So we ended up having a massive panic attack, thinking the world was ending, and we ended up just getting insurance money for all of our worst products. A-okay, we can get through things. Now, fast forward a little bit from that, we decided, okay, we're done with the basement. Number one, it's moldy and our landlord's not cleaning it up. Number two, it's obviously prone to flooding. Let's put it in the middle of our living space. So I wrapped my entire walls of my bedroom with IKEA shelves, and then we filled the rest of the hallway with IKEA shelves. And we grew into it, and our roommates at the time, bless their soul, put up with it. And people would come over and they'd be like, oh my gosh, like, look at all this stuff you have. It's so much. How do you live in here? And we were like, yeah, I know. It's pretty crazy. Then there came a time where it was just too much. So I moved into a condo that had a den. I'm sure many people here are familiar. It's the old 2+, which gets turned into a bedroom. We filled that up with our product, and we thought that we would never outgrow that day. Months later, the company had grown into the entire living room of that condo. It went all the way around the walls of every wall of the condo and all the way around my bed until that roommate also was done, and I was kind of done with it too. It's very hard to vacuum around product when it's everywhere. So I think it was 2013 or 2014, Mike? Do you have an idea when it went called? Yeah, let's call it 2014. We went to Wingold Avenue, which is where all the fashion companies were. Now we're like, okay, now we're really a fashion company, and we're paying for premium real estate for a warehouse where showrooms are. And we ended up having a spot that was 2,500 square feet, and Mike's showroom was 2/3 of it. We had a room in the back, and when we unpacked everything onto the, if anyone who's been at the warehouse, there's these big metal shelves that are kind of like lunking, towering things. Those two shelves are the entire original warehouse. And when we unpacked it all, people were like, wow, how did you have that in a condo? This is kind of a recurring theme here. And we ended up, a couple months later, knocking down one of the walls, taking over 2/3 of the space. Then about 6 or 7 months after that, we had the entire space. And again, we said to ourselves, wow, like, look at the size of this place. It's 2,500 square feet. How did this happen? How did we get this big? Then it was only, well, it was the spring of 2017 where we moved into Islington, which was 8,000 square feet. So almost 4 times bigger than our last space. Thought to ourselves, how are we ever going to outgrow this? And then 6 months later, we opened a second warehouse in Europe. So as you can see, there's a constant theme of, thinking we're not going to get to the next level, and then we get there crazy fast. And it always relates back to the team and everyone working super hard and getting lots done for us. Yeah, I think it's going to be really exciting 2018. I'm super appreciative of everything. And I think this is a good concept because there are lots of things on there that I haven't even seen yet. And I'm pretty in the loop compared to most. So hopefully we found this valuable, and thanks.
Yeah, we're gonna do about a 15-minute break and have breaks and get that.
Break time.
Come back.
What time we do?
We're pretty good actually. Yeah, Henry's just starting. Yeah,
We're like right on schedule?
Yeah, we're doing pretty
So we're actually ahead because we started a half hour late.
Yeah.
That's good.
So we're doing pretty good. Unless they took it back. Let me go grab the guy. Yeah, let me go grab the guy who doesn't have Okay, the guy will
Just Vitaly.
Yeah. No, I tried on my computer earlier and I was like, oh my gosh, we don't have this.
All the brothers are there. That's the one.
Let's settle down, please. All right, guys, let's get settled down, please. Simmer down. Grab all your snacks.
So hard.
So we all began earlier. Alright. Ready? My name is Andrea. I am the warehouse manager of Vitaly. I'm going to keep it short and sweet so we can all get out of here. A few things I want to talk about. Introduction, what we do, 2018 goals, and then some facts and figures in slides for the number of orders shipped and the conclusion. So, introduction. So I want to talk about myself a little bit. My name is Henry Newman. I was born here in Toronto. I moved to Aurelia when I was 9. I met Shane in grade 4, so we've known each other for about 20 years now. Met Jason through the university days, so I've known him for almost 10 years now. So known Shane, he's always been very ambitious, goal-oriented, and to see where Vitaly has come today is I'm sure. My experience, I worked in the warehouse since I was 15. I started off in Walmart. Shane can attest to that because he's always visited me in those days, trying to look like I was busy. I worked at Walmart when I was 15. Worked just stocking shelves, dairy department. Got bored of that. Decided to join the inventory control specialist at Walmart, handling all the inventory picking orders, which started my passion in the warehouse industry. 5 years went by, 20 years old, I applied up to Cinerama in Aurelia, where we had 3 warehouses. We mostly dealt with food and beverage, but we also had another warehouse that was 35,000 square feet. I worked there for 5 years. As that time went on, I noticed Vitaly's taken off. I always knew I'd work for Shane one day, of course, because of the, I always knew I was going to work for Shane one day because they always needed a warehouse because the business was going to grow. So it was always a goal of mine to join the team. I joined Vitaly in 2015. I moved to Toronto. Got out of my parents' place, moved to Toronto. Joined Vitaly in 2015, and then we started off at the Wimbledon warehouse, which was just very tiny. There was only 2 of us. Later on, Neil, my assistant manager, joined us. Jackie, also from Australia. It was very tiny, 2,000 square feet, 2 members of staff, maybe 2 to 3 people in the office, and it was exciting. Excited to be part of a team that was doing something big. Today I was not that. Just to show you a few pictures of what the warehouse is like now. Just took these today, so ignore the mess. That's just when you enter. It's just one of the aisles that we work in. Everything's inventory is sorted by SKU and style, sizing. So over 1,500 SKUs, so that shipping to kept a long time. Just another one of our aisles with clothing and jewelry, stretched all the way down. By the way, this warehouse is 8,000 square feet. Sort of our office area. It's kind of like a war room where staff sit stand desks, more productive, you can communicate, for me to see. And this is kind of our break area where we get a lot of hand-me-downs.
Punching bag.
A lot of that stuff is free from online or promotional.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so what we do. 4 aspects to our department. Online shipping, receiving, wholesale, customer service. Online shipping. Actually, before I begin, if I can get the warehouse team to put their hands up so everybody knows who they are. So, online shipping. E-commerce is the #1 revenue. When I started, we were shipping at least 40 to 60 orders a day. That's just between 1 or 2 people. Nowadays, we have 1 person shipping anywhere between 150 to 200 orders a day. Yeah, Jordan handles all that. How we ship 100 to 200 orders a day, and does it every day? We'll find out. Basically, whenever sales happens, all hands on deck. Everyone in my department is trained to do each other's jobs. So they know how to ship, they know how to receive, they know how to do wholesale. That's what it's expected. It's pretty good. Not because. Receiving Cooper, put your hand up, please. Cooper is in charge of currently receiving all spring 2018, which is super. Basically, before we moved into the new warehouse, everything was pretty much handled by myself and Neil. It grew to the point where I knew I needed a assistant manager plus a lead position. So I created lead positions for Jordan, Cooper, and Sal. Put your hand up. Sal was wholesale. I created those positions so they can talk to me as a team, so I can use my experience to teach them how to do the job more efficiently. Because in reality, everyone who's comes to the warehouse has an experience. But I'm there to teach you. And the reality is these guys have grown into their positions as leads, and they've done a phenomenal job. Wholesale, sell. Sal has been on the team for about 2 years now. Almost. Sal takes care of all the wholesales. He's in charge of making sure all the retail stores are stocked, orders come on time, and just to help maintain our schedule. Customer service, Jackie. She deals with everybody's complaints.
With a smile.
Yeah.
With a smile. Even though as soon as she hangs up the phone,
Digital smile. That's not a real.
yeah, she does a lot of crap. But we try to, I don't know what to say. It's a lot of crap she has to deal with. I really admire her for doing her job that way. 2018 goals. Reducing costs, continue improvement strategy, green warehouse, and the most important thing is setting personal time for staff. So, reducing costs. Reducing costs is a long time goal for the warehouse. Reducing the cost of transport and warehouse materials increases the profit of the company and earns from every customer. For example, energy costs are one area of logistics that adds to the cost of each shipment. Goals such as consolidating shipments can help reduce the energy costs to the warehouse. Maximizing transportation routes also results in lower energy costs for the company as well as lower carbon footprint. In addition to increasing the cost around the warehouse, those cost savings can now be passed on to the customer. Pretty basic. Continuous improvement. This is a huge thing I believe in, continuous improvement. Every day I walk through the warehouse, take a quick walk around, talk to my staff, how we can improve efficiency in the warehouse, whether it's the way we stack things, the way we move things, the way we pick orders, the flow of the warehouse. It's super important to reduce the amount of time people walking around, looking like chickens, their heads cut off, and being able to focus on work. That's one thing I strive for every day. Create a warehouse, obviously, warehouse ships thousands of packages a month. We ship it. Craft paper, boxes, and the one thing I want to look for is to move to a green warehouse, whether it's recycled paper, recycled tape, everything that I can do to be eco-friendly as possible to have less impact on the environment. And once you see the number of orders we shipped last year, you'll see why. Setting personal time with my staff. So this is super important for me for 2018. I think it's critical to understand your staff. What I want to do is do monthly one-on-ones with them. I want to understand why they're here, what makes them tick, why do they come to work with Vitaly? Why do they come to work for me? One of my goals is to just sit down every month, get to know them better, interest. I know these guys go out for wings and beers every once in a while. I know I get invited. Sometimes I'm busy, sometimes not. I like to be part of that more. So what I would like to do is do maybe bi-monthly dinner meetings, departmental meetings. We can all sit around 2 hours out of the night, just shoot the shit. I want to get to know you guys better. I want to set aside time. So one of my goals is to clear up my inbox and set up time between each and every one of you, a few hours at a time, whatever it is. Go through your department. How can I improve? Shout at you, whatever it is. Me having 13 years of experience, I can pass that on to you and bring out the best in you guys. That's my goal. Okay, numbers here. Number of orders shipped. So the first 3 segments there represent the online store. Black is Vitaly, Foxy Colors, it's white. As you can see in online stores, last year in 2017, Canada 6,000, the numbers over there. So you just read that. Grand total, almost 40,000 packages last year. That's wholesale online. no matter what. And it's super important to instill that into younger people. Like I'm 30, most of these people are 25. Even though we're 5 years apart, I feel like I can instill so much passion and determination in your jobs. That's I know it sounds silly, but thank you. Pretty much. I was gonna write everything out, but one thing I do want to talk about, actually I want to go back to some personal thing, right? I do want to pass that along with, I do want to pass the message along with management and upper management. Get to know your staff, because they're the ones that are here to help you out. Set some time apart, do one-on-ones, get to know who they are. Whether they're in another fucking country, go and Skype with them. Why are they here to work for you guys? I have to go every day. I have to go to work every day because I know these guys depend on me. And that's what drives me. I want to teach them to a point where they can run the warehouse by themselves. I can break up and take a vacation. But the warehouse is completely wrong. That's just one thing I want to take. I think I made it too.
All right, might as well get right into this. Hello, everybody. All right, I don't know if you're all familiar with me, but I'm Michael, otherwise referred as Mikey. I've been around since the very beginning. I actually went to high school with Jay and briefly with Shane, but we never actually became friends until one day I was walking out of my apartment in Toronto and Jay was moving into my apartment. He had his snowboard bag. He just came back from Vancouver. We started hanging out, and Shane was actually living a block away, and Jay and Shane were friends. So we just started hanging out, and that's kind of how I got into the crew. And a few months later, Shane was going to Bali on his backpacking trip. So pretty crazy story. So anyways, I do the wholesale. I'm the director of sales for Vitaly. So I'm just going to give you some updates on where we're at with wholesale and what our goals are for this year. All right, so just some quick updates. The Vitaly and Clocks and Color showroom is now on the second floor of 505 Queen. So if any packages are being sent for the wholesale team, you can send them there now. Staff updates. Greg has now moved to retail development full-time, so sad to see him go, but that's definitely his calling, so happy for him. Now I'm also conducting interviews for sales interns right now, so sales interns, we're looking to hire 3 to 5 part-timers who would just be assisting me in landing new accounts or prospecting new accounts. So yeah, we'll get into it. Okay, so there's this new program that we started called the Core Collection Program. We do it for accessories and for clothing. We have a like a full collection case where we put this full case into a retail store on consignment with the full collection, and then they send us sell-through reports on a weekly basis for what sold the week prior, kind of utilizing our retailers almost like flagships, and we have 5 of them currently right now just with accessories, and they've been doing extremely well, especially through the holiday season. Our goal is to open up 20 more this year, so that's exciting. Also, we're doing a core clothing program, and Shane just finished designing some racks for it, so that'll be going soon. Okay, so just to give you some updates on our majors and our big box retailers, we're currently in 93 doors with our accessories and 20 doors with our clothing. HBC has us in 15 doors, and they're doing really well, so they're expanding just in those 15 doors. Nordstrom, we're in all of their doors in Canada, and we're in 2 doors in the States starting this month actually, which is, March 1st. And we're doing really well on their online store, .com, so that's good. Okay, Simon's, we've been doing really well. We're in all their doors. But yeah, the goal is to expand just within those retail stores, and we're going to do that by spending a little bit more time focused on each one of them and dealing with more of their like marketing department and figure out how we can get on their mailers, get on their web banners and stuff like that on their online stores, and also doing some more like exclusive pieces with them. Okay, our goal for independent retailers is to open 3 to 5 a month. Target territories would be the United States and Europe, and this is where I'm going to use the sales interns. Okay, so another couple goals for this year would be to land more dropshipping clients. I don't know if you're familiar with what dropshipping is, but it's when an online store can plug into our system, or they can sell the products that we offer, but they don't carry inventory, and then we do the shipping for them. So I really think that's going to be a big thing for us, as it's getting harder and harder for retailers to invest in owning their own product. Also, rewards programs, so like TD rewards, like bank programs like that. Where I'm in conversations with a few of them right now. But yeah, just more eyes on the brand in general. We've decided to pull out of trade shows. We did our last one 2 seasons ago, actually 1 full year ago, in February last year. And I'm just either traveling myself to see these retailers or flying them in to see us or see me at the flagship. The reason that we really did that was the cost of trade shows is enormous, and having that many people out of the office at one time it's a lot. And also being surrounded by your competition and then being able to see all your product before it's released is also not that great. All right, and I'm also I'm working on an intro package to Vitaly, which would be a package with ring sizer, sizing wand, lookbook, that kind of stuff that would be shipped to the retailers with their opening orders. Yeah, I guess I kind of flew through this. I'm super nervous. So Clocks and Colors, we're actually going to really start focusing on developing the wholesale system with them with Clocks and Colors. Yeah, so excited about it. Again, going to be utilizing the sales interns that will be starting in the next couple weeks. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess that's really everything that I have
I think I already set up. Am I good to go?
Traffic.
Drop it.
Hi everyone, Greg. If you don't know me, I came into Vitaly with Mikey. I did wholesale. I started there for about a year or so. I just recently moved into retail. I had a lot of experience there and that side of the business is growing, so I thought it was time that we needed a little more support there. So, a couple things I want to talk about. The retail strategies, our foundations of sales culture and 2018 initiatives, and providing philosophies we believe you and your teams are ultimately working towards or working to achieve. Okay, so 2018, we're going to be focusing on our pop-up shop model that we started in 2017. It didn't start until later in the year. Obviously, we had Queen Street and Yonge that switched over as our foundations, but we went into pop-ups. So what we're going to do for this is reach out to malls all around Canada for now, maybe in the US once everything's good. What we're going to do is basically pitch them on the models that we started, and it's taking our stores, example like spare parts, which is the ones that we've been doing in all our stores now, and we're going to be basically saying, look, we'll take over their lease that they can't fulfill anymore, and until you find someone to take over this lease, we're going to fill it, and we can do it in a matter of half a month, and we'll be ready to go. And we're rocking, and obviously we've seen huge success in that so far. So yeah, we're going to continue that. Why? You might ask what we're doing with this. The value of sales and non-stop foot traffic. That's pretty self-explanatory. Like we're seeing huge numbers coming out of all the doors that we've already opened, and the people that are coming into the door and seeing them is it's consistent. Malls always have people. There's always someone walking by. Minimal commitment, again with that, we could have it for a month, we could have it for a year, we could have it, there's no huge commitment that we have to put in with these malls that could suffer the business in a long-term situation, so I think that's huge. And future brand growth, so the more stores we get, the more people we bring into the company, it's just going to help Vitaly grow on all levels, and I think that's huge for another side of the whole company. So additional benefits to this, free marketing tool. Yorkdale's a huge thing. Everyone that works there would know this, and I've spent some time on the floor there, and almost every single person that walks in this door says, what is this brand? Who are these people? Like, where did this come from? Like literally nobody knows what it is, and that's amazing, I think. Obviously, we thought in Toronto, in that area, we would have more people that would know it, but it's amazing. And that right there, there's no dollar value on people walking by and coming into a store like that. So that's amazing. Adding depth to our team and our brand. Every store requires at least 7 people, up to potentially 15 people, maybe even more or less, you never know. But that right there is a huge addition. You never see 15 people, 10 people getting added to a brand in a head office situation or in the warehouse. Like that's a lot of people to bring on at once. So that offers a lot of opportunity for people to grow. Definitely a unique way to test new products. So we can bring in new styles or different colors or looks or collabs or exclusives, and all these things can be tested on the floor before we put it into online or put it into wholesale. We'll know right away, what kind of results we can get and how we can measure those results. And obviously we profit, and so does the mall. Like nobody in the mall will ever want to have a vacant unit that looks so bad on them. And there's tons of malls happening all the time right now. So yeah, I think that's a huge positive for us. So some foundations of our sales culture, build depth and drive sales. This is definitely something huge. I want to continue to grow within our people and build the depth and teach these people in our sales just how to sell and the way we can drive sales in a way that's unique to different retailers, and how we can just separate ourselves from everybody else and be better than them. Focusing on development is the next point there, and I think that's huge. It kind of ties together. If we develop our people and teach them and grow them through a system, they're going to just be better in the end than bringing in new people consistently. You never want external growth. You always want to grow through your people, and development is the number way to do that. Grow a stronger sales culture and provide a mind-blowing customer experience. It's epic, I know. Yeah, that right there. Sales culture is number one. If you go into a store and someone's selling to you and you have a great experience and you love what they're doing, you're always going to go back to that store. You're always going to love and tell people how much you loved it. Great customer experiences. You know, I've been in retail for a long time, and there's so many times I go into a store and someone approaches me and I'm like, oh, fuck off, bro. I don't even want to talk to you. And then there's times where someone comes up and does that and then follows up and asks, you know, personal questions, and I end up buying something because the experience was so good. And I think that goes a huge way in retail, and I want to get us there into the new year. It offers all employees, not just store managers, a chance to grow our future talent. So if you're on the sales floor, you know, new people are coming in, they're asking about the brand, they want to learn. And if you can teach people how to be better and become a part of what we're doing, everyone feels empowered to grow everything. You know, you don't have to be somebody on a higher level management in the company. You don't have to be a store manager. You could be a sales associate and find the next person that's literally going to, you know, potentially run a big part of the company. So that's huge. That ties into the last point, empowering people to grow the brand. And yeah, I think that's super important for our sales culture. So some new initiatives for this year. These are small points, but they also have huge meaning behind each. We can go in a big conversation, but number one is targeted training, how we sell, working through our teams and building the perfect sale. Those are huge right there. I want all of our store managers just to focus in on how are you teaching your people on a daily basis? What are you doing to grow their sales culture? What are the steps you can take to actually providing one of those customer experiences from start to finish where they're going to come in and leave and be like, wow, I need to go back to Vitaly. You know, that company is great. So targeted training, number one. We have binders coming out soon that are all procedures and weekly, you know, sales training and packets, which are just little tools to help you understand what we're going to do to work through those processes. Number two is features and functions. This is something that Shane has told me a million times before this. You better bring it up. And I think it's a huge part of this year. We need to just not assume the sale, and whether someone's been a long-term customer with Vitaly or a first-timer, we need to understand that like product knowledge and knowing what you're selling and how they feature function are huge. Just like our, you know, the pants we have in denim now with the cell phone pocket there, there's pretty much no brands out there that have that. And no one's going to walk in the store and understand what that does unless somebody on the sales floor can pitch it to them and show them those things. What is the stuff made out of? How are we designing it? Just like Zach said, you know, like where is the architectural like influences coming from? You need to understand these things and be able to push it and teach and educate and have every customer that leaves know like, oh shit, Vitaly's all about this. So super important. I really want everyone to focus on features and functions in our retail channel. Staffing, scheduling, having the right people at the right time. This is super crucial. You know, you come into peak seasons or busy times, weekends, high volume. You need to have the right people there on the sales floor. You got to have your best people that are there and committed and want to be there, or else, you know, you're not going to get the sales that you need. Promoting within, again, goes with sales culture and growing your brand. We have to promote within. We need our salespeople to turn into managers, our managers into district managers, and so on and so forth. That's, I think, one of the biggest parts of growing a brand organically and having people really buy into the system. So I want to make sure that we have people within our system already. There's a lot of retail people in here right now that can grow and will grow over the years. So that's it. Next thing is store presentation. This is something that I think gets overlooked a lot, and it's something we're really going to dial in. And we just need to have our stores looking a little bit better. You know, we can't have little dust bunnies there. We need to have our windows updated. We got to have our outfits right. If you don't care about your store presentation, then neither will the customer. So many people come in and judge and are quick to judge, and if you can have a really dialed in store with people that actually care to make the store look good, then it's going to go a lot further than other stores in malls or street level. So this is something, it's not just retail specific, kind of goes in all levels of the company, but I tailored this a little more retail. But what is a motivated employee? I think this is important. Someone that leads by example, someone that takes responsibility for themselves and others, who is a team player, not just an individual. Someone that demonstrates our cultural elements and has fun while doing it. You want people to show up to the store and have fun doing their job, and not just show up and want to get forced into talking to somebody you're selling. Someone that takes pride in the products, housekeeping in the store, presentation, being adaptable and can do anything at any time, and someone that can take direction and execute without being told a million times what to do or how to do it. So those right there, I think, are really important things for what thanks to everyone that helps out, because it's not just retail that grows these stores and creates them. Like, we have every single part of the business contributing, and if it wasn't for everyone putting in 100% effort, we would not have the stores we do. And right now we have 6 stores. The West End just opened, so in the amount of time all these stores have opened is unbelievable, and that's pretty much it. We're killing it.
Hello, everyone. I have no slides, so you just look at me, direct your attention towards my face. There's nothing else to look at. My name is Joe. I'm the marketing manager at Vitaly. I started work at Vitaly as a freelancer doing web design. I think it was the summer of 2015. Started full-time in November of 2015. Still do the websites, so if you ever are requesting a change in there, it's me jumping into the code and typing it out. We should hire a web developer. And my background's in web design and graphic design, and I still try to do some creative stuff as well. So I feel like the question that keeps coming up for me, through all these presentations, is everyone's like, we started at this tiny warehouse. It was, we're in our condo, we're in our basement, it's 1 block. Now we're in 10,000 square feet, and nothing even fits in there. How do we get from A to B? How did we grow so fast, so quickly? So I'm going to try to give you a super quick primer to the best of my knowledge about how we were marketed, how we came to market, and how we grew, and how we plan to grow, and some short-term plans for SS18 that I need your help with. So that's going to be the outline of this. So when I joined the team in 2015, I don't know if you're in Wingold yet, but I remember visiting a condo and there was still product all over the condo. And the main way that Vitaly was marketed at that time was there's that little bit of organic growth, the Dragon's Den episode, and the wholesale efforts in Toronto and kind of Eastern Canada that grew the brand organically. But then the big kind of piece that pushed us into the international markets and across Canada was Instagram marketing. So, so by Instagram marketing, I mean doing paid and non-paid partnerships with Instagram blogs and influencers that would tag us, promote our page, and kind of that's what grew us from 10,000 followers to 200,000 followers. So that was the golden age of Instagram in 2015, where none of the bigger brands had adapted to the platform yet. So as a young, agile brand, it was a really good space to grow because there was no big money getting thrown around. People weren't jaded on the platform. Lots of people were signing up on the platform. It was a really good way for people to engage with content from brands. So we kind of blew up that way. that's how we started crushing online sales and really like kind of making a splash. And that kind of changed in early 2016 when Instagram advertising became a thing. Bigger companies started to clue into the fact that there was this new social media platform where you could advertise, and all the cool kids were on there. So it kind of became a situation of diminishing returns, where like, you know, the Nikes and the HBCs were tossing money at all these influencers and blogs, and all of a sudden that post that we paid $100 for in 2015 got literally 10,000 followers the next day. That was costing $1,000, and we were getting 500 followers the next day. So we had to shift and adapt to those changes, and where we landed from there was advertising. So I don't know if you guys ever like started a Facebook page for a project you ever had, but like back in the day, you could start a Facebook page and get like 1,000 followers somehow, and then like whenever you made a post, 1,000 people would see it, they'd engage with it, they'd comment, they'd like. And then Facebook decided, wait, like we're not gonna let you just have this free advertising, like we're gonna develop this feed algorithm that, you know, promotes certain content and doesn't allow pages to reach people. So that kind of change is happening and has happened over the past couple of years on Instagram. So basically, we've had to pivot and realize that we can't expect our 300,000 followers to be engaged with our content all the time. So we have to pay for it now. So basically, our model right now, for the most part, is advertising. And there's good and bad things about that. We were able to work directly with Facebook in Toronto to kind of like guide us through the process of scaling a brand through advertising on Facebook and Instagram, which has allowed us to do everything in-house, which is super rare for a brand of our size or a brand of any size as well. Like even super big clothing brands will not buy any ads in-house. They don't do any media trafficking. Most of them don't even generate their own content. So the fact that like we were trained and we are able to do the work of an ad agency in-house with a staff, like a small staff, just Corey, essentially. Shout out to Corey. It's pretty so we spent a lot of money on ads, and it doesn't sound as like thrilling or cool as, you know, building your brand 100% organically through Instagram. But it does allow us to have a huge degree of control over who we're targeting, where we grow our brand, and it also allows us to measure everything super effectively. So 50% of this job of what Corey and I do every day is measurement. It's like, we spent $1 here today, is that dollar coming back where we expected it to? Where can we optimize that so it becomes $2 tomorrow? So that kind of brings us to now, and that's how we've kind of grown the brand through 2017. But we have a couple of different changes that we're going to make in 2018 that are going to modify that strategy and bring in some different moving pieces, some of which you guys are directly involved with. So the big change in 2018 for us advertising-wise is branded content. So up until now, what we've been doing advertising-wise is direct response. So in marketing, direct response is like, if I advertise to Andrea and I'm looking for Andrea to buy something tomorrow, or convert on our online store, that would be like a direct response ad. It's like, I show you a kunai on Facebook and I want you to click on it and buy it. That would be a direct response. So we've been doing that for a long time because it allows us to invest advertising dollars and get them back within, you know, 7 days, 14 days, 28 days, which is really important for a small agile company like us that's not, you know, made of money, that doesn't forecast advertising spend into the 2-year, 5-year period. So we're changing that up a little bit this year to basically invest more money in branded content, which basically means bringing this message that everyone's been talking about tonight to people in a way that's not just about selling a kunai. It's about like bringing people the Vitaly message, the Vitaly values, and the Vitaly aesthetic and content, and not necessarily looking for a return on investment the next day, but instead looking for kind of like overall brand affinity that's going to continue into lasting customer relationships and like a community that we can build on throughout. So a big part of that is generating content, some of which you've seen up on the screen today. Perfect example is the production video. So production video works on a lot of different levels. It's like on the one hand, it tells people that we're organic now, that we are invested in this shift in mandate to being a more green company. Second, it kind of like opens the door and lets people see a couple different faces from the company, see us interacting with some of our suppliers and us talking and moving around and stuff, which kind of lifts the curtain on who we are and who runs the company behind the scenes. And third, it's educational. It like teaches people, like I didn't know personally how a shirt was made until I visited all the suppliers myself and saw the yarn getting turned into the fabric and the fabric getting cut and then sewn and all that stuff. So that's the kind of content we want to be developing and promoting this year, and basically showing people that we're not just a rain company or a kunai company or a Boris company, which the warehouse might think sometimes, but actually we have like a brand and we have an identity behind it, and those values are getting focused and promoted right now. So yeah, or in the more short term, in terms of SS18, I have a couple requests from some of you guys, and I'll just outline what SS18 looks like for us, because obviously we want to get this off the ground in as smooth a way as possible, because it's by far, I think, the most important launch ideologically and in terms of product that we've ever done. So launch date officially is March 8th online, but we're doing a pre-launch for our customers on March 5th. So anyone who's ever bought anything from us gets to see the collection and shop the collection and experience the new mandate through a special landing page that we're building for 3 days. And there's going to be those launch dates are going to be mirrored in retail. So one thing that I'm going to ask of all the retail staff who are currently in the room is we're going to be putting a whole bunch of budget behind resale Facebook events for each city. We're not going to do separate Yorkdale, Square One flagship events in Toronto. We're just going to kind of like focus all of the marketing onto one piece so people can pick and choose which door they want to go to. But we're going to ask all you guys to blast out invites to those Facebook events and engage with them before we put a budget behind them. So basically, the reason why we're doing that is because when Facebook content or Instagram content is like engaged before we boost it, it allows our dollars to go like 100 times further, because it tells Facebook that people think this is quality content, people are already engaging with it. So it'd be a massive, massive help if we could get some invites out to those events and get some activity on them before we start putting a big budget behind them for these SS18. Similarly, the second thing that I want to get everybody in this room's help on is we're doing a kind of separate launch for the production video, although it's going to be available on our landing page and people are going to see it and they'll get it through remarketing and stuff before March 15th. On March 15th, we're going to do a dedicated launch just for the production video, and that's going to be like our mandate launch. So that's when like we're really, really going to drill into the idea that we're now shifting to be a sustainable company. There's going to be lots of PR and copy and kind of like social engagement going on there. So we're going to make this big, beautiful social media post, and everyone has to share it. For the same reason that I just went over, which is like when we create a super engaged post, which we're going to put a massive budget behind, it really allows those dollars to stretch super, super far. And on top of that, it's something that we can all definitely get behind and be super stoked about. So yeah, we should get at least 70 shares in it, or however many people in this room, and tell your friends and tell your aunts and uncles and tell your mom. My mom's really excited about me working at a company like this now. She wasn't, to be honest, she wasn't that stoked before, but now she's really stoked. So to call your mom, tell her you work at a sustainable green company, tell her that you love her, and that she should share her Facebook post as well. So yeah, that's it for me. Who's next?
I can't believe you didn't have slides, Joe. I expected some like crazy, like coded.
That's why you got me to play the video. Be like, this is oh.
Hold on.
All right, guys, I know everyone's probably getting a little bit antsy. I don't have that much left to say. And I think we're a little ahead of schedule, so that'll we can probably open things up for some questions as well if anyone has any. But yeah, so I'm just gonna kind of jump in here. You know, as Henry mentioned earlier, I've always been really, really big on goals. And you know, I think it's something that I've always done kind of just instinctively. I've always set goals for myself, not maybe necessarily wrote them down every year or anything, but you know, I always felt like I was working towards something. But you know, I think one mistake that I made was I didn't always set that up as like the standard for the rest of the company, and I think that that's something that's going to really separate 2018 from previous years. So at the end of 2017, I had every manager work on goals, and that's kind of what I'm going to talk about right now. I'm probably going to be redundant because I'm going off script here, but so yeah, you know, over the years we've been flying by the seat of our pants. We've been accomplishing everything we can without asking ourselves why we're doing those things. The results have obviously been fantastic. We've talked a lot about the growth. We've accomplished a ridiculous, incredible amount. But a lot of what we did was unfocused. As many of you will surely agree, was pretty stressful at times. And you know, it was often difficult to measure. And it becomes more and more challenging as the team grows. So no clear goals often made people feel that they were working hard but were unnoticed in their efforts. It left others feeling unclear on what they were to work on, and you know, it just generally caused confusion. So at the start of 2017, as I mentioned, I had all the managers work on putting together their primary objectives for the year, objectives that they knew would have a real impact on the company and that they would be proud of at the end of 2018. It's those objectives that will assist the rest of our team with creating complementary goals to ensure we accomplish everything we set out to do this year, and to ensure we're not stretching ourselves too thin. We're just getting done what we know we need to get done. While there's far too many goals here to list, I want to share some of the biggest objectives, some of my biggest objectives, just so you can kind of have an idea of where my head's at. So I want to ensure our team and our customers understand who Vitaly is and what we're all about. You know, we've talked about that a lot today, and that's especially important with Vitaly 3.0. We want to be more than just products. You know, we want to stand for something. And so it's really a mission of mine to make sure that that's something that we're always pushing for, striving for. I want to empower a team that asks why before they act. And what I mean by that is I want people to think about, you know, why we're working on something and feel comfortable questioning your managers or even me. You should be able to question these things. We want to make sure that when we're doing something, there's a reason for it. I think too often people just like act. And you know, that could be okay when you're first starting things up, but we need to work as a cohesive unit. We need to work as a team. And I think knowing why we're doing things is going to make that possible. I want to reward problem solvers. I think that it's one of the biggest things that separates people who are successful from people who aren't. The people who try to solve problems without being asked to do so are the people who really make a big difference. And I think that I want to really make sure that our managers are paying attention to the people who are actively doing that, and I want to make sure that we reward those people for it because it's very important. I want to foster a work environment that's conducive to growth as individuals and as a team. I know that for a lot of you, you probably have felt at times that maybe like the training wasn't quite there, you know, or maybe like your managers haven't spent enough time with you, etc. These are all things that we want to work on. You know, a lot of that was a function of just growing really quickly. And so these are the kinds of things that we can start to work on and improve upon by slowing down a little bit this year and just kind of really focusing our efforts. You know, for example, one thing that we're looking into right now is getting proper training for all of our managers so that they can like actively manage. You know, as you've probably kind of taken away from a lot of the conversations today or speeches, most of us, you know, even as Henry was mentioning, but in all departments, most of us didn't have any experience. You know, Jason and I were not managers, or maybe we're kind of managers, but not at this scale. So we really have to kind of learn as we go. And I want to invest in some proper training as well, and you know, not just assume that we can figure out absolutely everything on our own. I want to work towards becoming a B Corp. This is a very, very ambitious, challenging project. It's not something that's going to happen quickly. Most of you probably don't know what a B Corp is. If you do, that's awesome. It stands for Better Corporation, but it's a certification that very few companies in Canada have, very few companies in the world have really. But what it means is that you are a good company that actually cares about things on all levels, not just environmentally friendly. You know, there's a lot of environmentally friendly companies that are brown on the inside, you know, that are rotten on the inside. They just, you know, they want to look good, but they don't actually represent anything good. A B Corp goes further. It means involvement in your community and giving back wherever you can. It means making sure that your staff are happy. You know, it's much bigger picture. And getting the certification is not something that we can do overnight, but it is something that we've already started working towards. And moving towards being environmentally friendly is that. Even doing town hall meetings like this is that. One thing that somehow didn't get brought up, I guess I missed that in my speech and stuff, but it's just coming to mind now. We've actually just finished putting together an employee manual. So I guess Andrea or Stevie will probably send out an all staff with the link to that soon, but even just things like that, making sure that you guys have access and understand what everything is. So any questions you might have will be in this employee manual, and you know, we'll hopefully kind of clarify things for everyone. I want to make sure that our team is properly educated on our products so that they can sell them knowledgeably and proudly. You know, maybe people think that we're just like trying to pump our own tires by saying this stuff, but we really do invest massively in our product. And you know, some people will think our product's underpriced, some people will think it's overpriced, but I can tell you, honestly and sincerely, standing up here, compared to any of our competition, our quality is leaps and bounds better at the price point. Like there's just no comparison, to the point where it's extremely challenging for us to do things like wholesale because our margins are like razor thin, or in some cases literally non-existent. This is because we want to give the best possible quality product to our customers, both because it's something we believe in. It goes right back to our original mantra, which is designed with our friends in mind. You're not going to sell shit to your friends, and you're not going to overcharge your friends. And that's something that we've wanted to hold on to, and we continue to hold on to. This move to Portugal for all of our clothing was very expensive, very expensive. And often, in some cases, our price points are going down. You know, we're not charging people more now to make this move, which means that we need to sell a hell of a lot more product to make up for that. But that's what we believe in. We believe in making a great product, and then hopefully the volume will be there to support us. So we really hope that you guys see that and understand that. We want to make sure that we're kind of teaching you guys as much about the product as we can. So that's something that we're going to be actively working on this year. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. The next thing is we want to design the best products that we're capable of. You know, one of the things with moving super quickly, again, and another one of the challenges is you're really just kind of like pumping things out. And it's not to say that that's been entirely the case, but we really want to give ourselves more time to focus on product and designing product. And I think we have been doing that. And, you know, I don't know if you guys noticed, but like the fall winter collection, like the lookbook shows like that, the product is so thought out. It's something that we're really proud of, and the jewelry that we have is absolutely insane. And it's new and it's fresh and it's fun, and it's like it's stuff that people are going to pay attention to again. You know, like two-finger rings really they turned heads, as we kind of mentioned earlier. They turned a lot of heads, but now it's kind of mainstream. You know, people know it. We want to show people that we are the leaders in jewelry, that we can be innovative, and we want to turn heads again. And I think Locks and Colors has been doing that for the past couple of years. You know, that's been a big part of the success. But we can do that again with Vitaly. And for some of you, maybe you've seen some of the samples. Most of you probably haven't, but it's really cool shit. And like, people are going to pay attention again for sure. And that's something that we really want to focus on. And that kind of leads into my last thing, which is just innovate. It kind of goes hand in hand with that same thing. But we really just want to make sure that what we're doing shows our creativity. It doesn't just show that we can produce a product, it shows that we can produce a unique product, and that you know, real thought is going into it and that we actually care about what we're doing. So we're going to talk just a little bit about why our products are actually great. That's kind of where I'll finish. It feels funny just standing up here saying these things, but I think it's really important that people understand it. You know, while Greg touched on the importance of selling with features and benefits of features and functions, I guess he said, yeah, I just want to close with a reminder about why it's such a good product. So, you know, for one thing, you know, as obviously as we mentioned a lot, we've made huge moves to being environmentally friendly. We are significantly more environmentally friendly than virtually all of our competition in the streetwear space. There's amazing companies out there. I will say, like, I was hugely inspired by Patagonia, but not everybody wants to wear Patagonia, including me. It's just not my style. No offense to them. Nudie is another really great one, though. They're they're, I don't think they technically have the B Corp certification, but they do everything right. They're a very good company, and they're people that we can look up to. But yeah, our products now are, you know, made in significantly cleaner wash houses. Stainless steel is already quite sustainable. You know, we've already talked about it. Our clothing factories are like literally award winning. They have so many certifications and awards, it's ridiculous, and I wouldn't even be able to remember 99% of them. To give you guys an idea though of the caliber of these factories, the products that they're producing alongside ours would be things like Yves Saint Laurent, Kenzo, Balmain. Like, these factories are not fucking around, like, they're the best in the world. So, you know, that should give you an idea of what to expect and the caliber that we're going for now. Our fabric quality is literally the best we can pay for. We've worked very hard on milling the best possible fabrics we can. You'll see a major difference in our core collection now that it's from Portugal. Like, it just feels amazing, it looks amazing. You don't even know, you hold up a scoop tee of our old stuff compared to the new, and you can just see it. You don't even know what you're seeing that's different, but it just looks better. We're very big on our color. We use the top rating for color fastness. What that means is that your products shouldn't fade rapidly. So, you know, I'm sure most of you have experienced buying a Zara shirt or an H&M shirt or something like that, and the color fades out really quickly. That's because they're not investing in the color fastness. We are doing that. That goes hand in hand with being environmentally friendly. We want products that you don't just throw away. You know, the idea is that you should be able to purchase these products and wear them for a long time before they're worn out. Our stitching quality is, like, now that we're in these new factories, is absolutely incredible. You shouldn't be seeing the loose threads that you once would see. You'll just be able to see, like, it's just super clean and tight. It's just a huge improvement. Okay, so jumping into, here's somebody holding up one of our beautiful Portuguese-made shirts. Okay, so our jewelry, the thing that we really truly do best, and you know, it's pretty incredible because we've been doing jewelry for about 7 years now, and I still think that we are one of the leaders. I think when it comes to clocks and colors, like, there's about 3 competitors in the world, and they've been in that space for like 20 years. And their products, when you hold it side by side with ours, don't even begin to compare. So it's, you know, we know that we're absolutely crushing it there. And with Vitaly, all of you have seen the millions of knockoff websites and like Instagram accounts, etc. They're just like blatantly knocking us off. But still, nobody is doing it better, and that's something that we should be proud of. We should continue to focus on. But some of the kind of like specifics that make our products as great as they are. For one thing, we're really serious about our plating. Like on our rings, we now do 0.8 microns. That's pretty much as thick as you can do. You can do 1.0, which people do on like really high-end watches, but it's pretty much overkill. We plate one of the best factories in China. This is the same factory that does like Nixon, the higher-end Nixons though, not their like mid-tier and lower. They also do Beats by Dre and other like huge companies. The fact that they even worked with us was pretty incredible. We had to really like show them how much volume we were going to do. Something that I think everybody should know, and I've mentioned to a couple people and they're really surprised by this, and I would have been too. A huge part of the cost of our products is the polishing. So when you see people make comments like, oh, this is bullshit, you can make this for $3, blah, 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 they're so impossibly wrong. Our polishing costs significantly more than $3. That is because we have extremely high standards to the point where a lot of factories don't even want to work with us because it's very, very difficult to polish stainless steel to the standards that we use. And that's actually where most of the labor goes into these products, which is the labor is the cost. Stainless steel, a piece of stainless steel is worth a fraction of a cent. It's the labor, it's the work, it's the design that really adds the value. And that's something that should be touched on too when somebody says like this can be made for $3. It's like, no, that's bullshit because there's an entire very talented design team that has to be paid who are also working on this. And there's the warehouse who has to ship it and all those people, and there's the jackies who have to deal with all the complaints. You know, there's so much more behind it. So when people say things like that, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. We use 316 stainless steel, so that's the best stainless steel we can use. It's the same thing that doctors would use in needles, etc. Again, we've switched to environmentally friendly packaging. I think this is a really, really awesome change. And, as Zach said, it actually looks amazing. I was pretty nervous because I was like, look, I know we need to do this, but I was worried that the packaging was going to look cheaper, and obviously I'm going to take a step back. But somehow the cardboard actually looks better. So, and then yeah, last thing, we have a lifetime warranty on our jewelry now. I think that should say a ton. We obviously really believe in and stand behind our product. And I think that's something that we should be always talking about and reminding people and kind of pushing, because that's a big deal. So that pretty much concludes everything I wanted to say. So that pretty much concludes this. So thank you. All right, so the good news is we did finish a little bit earlier than anticipated. What I'm going to do then is, I guess, just open up the floor for questions. If I can just get the managers to come back up then. This way, if anybody does have any questions, you can direct them at whoever you want to direct them at, and we'll do our best to answer them. In the future, what we're going to do for town hall meetings is we're going to actually collect questions anonymously so that you guys can kind of submit them and not be worried about asking them, and then we're going to do our best to address them up here. But being that this was the first one, we weren't even sure if we'd have this time, so we just kind of wanted to get through things. I would suspect it won't be as long in the future because we obviously covered a ton of stuff that we won't always cover down the road. But yeah, so questions, anyone?
So I'm familiar with the process of the sterling silver jewelry that gets made. Is it the same smiths or the same artisans that create the brass product? And where is that sourced from? I know the Vitaly sterling silver is Canada. Is the sterling silver for clocks and colors and further improvements for Vitaly going to be different locations, or is it going to be all centralized?
Yeah, so right now all the clocks and colors, silver and brass stuff is done in Bali.
Okay.
And that's kind of where everything actually started. They're the artisans that we work with that are able to do these outrageously incredible carvings. It is all done by hand, despite what people think. The stainless steel is then copied in 3D printers, etc. But like the silver is where it all starts, and that is done by hand. We are going to be doing a lot more silver stuff for Vitaly, but we are going to move that production over to Bali because, to be completely honest, they just do a better job. Working with Canada was a huge pain in the ass, and the quality just actually wasn't as good as doing it in Bali. So we're going to move things over there. And we actually have a ton of really, really, really cool silver stuff coming. So.
For Greg. So where do you see your new retail pop-ups opening? More Toronto area or more out west?
Good question. I think West Coast right now is a focus. BC might be next. Obviously, West Head was our first approach to going out there, but I think BC is the next look, potentially into maybe like, I don't know, a few doors out there, potentially more in Edmonton, Calgary area, and I think just like watching that we don't step on the toes of wholesale is a huge thing, because you don't want to be in the same spot as all our retailers, so that's huge, maybe Manitoba, and then we'll measure success and then potentially go into US markets.
Where would you want to go to?
LA. Just for the trip. I want to go. No, I think honestly there's a lot of opportunity there. I think we have a lot of customers out there around like the US and North America, so we can look at those results and kind of, strategically target trade areas and find out what we need to be.
Anyone else?
Are you guys making a merchandising team anytime soon? Or are you going to keep it up front office? I don't mean that to be rude, that came out very rude.
No, that's fair. That's a good question. Actually, that's probably still a Greg.
Yeah, no, I'm talking to you, Greg.
All right, I feel special. Yes, we are looking at potentially growing a merchandising team right now. It's one of those things we're working at, just like, what's the aesthetic going to be? Are we really driving our windows more? Which, yes, we're doing a Queen Street renovation tomorrow and the next day, which is going to be huge. So shout out to that. I think it's going to be awesome, just changing our whole store around and opening more looks in the window. But yes, we want to grow the merchandising team, so I suspect that will happen in the next few months. So if you are interested, just shoot us an email. And
I'm doing it for 10 years, dog. That's what I
there you go. Shoot me an email, greg@vitalydesign.com. Yes.
I can touch on that as well.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just so you're all aware, Scott and I, at some point before the 8th, I guess, will be dropping by each one of the Toronto locations to do some setup. So all those photos that you saw with like the floating rings and the concrete and the plants, we're going to build things like that in your windows. So that will be kind of like the new window display to go with the theme. Is that a question?
No.
I'm just fist bumping in the air. Okay. Yeah, that's it for me. So you'll see us. We'll be around.
Yeah, just to build on that, I was mentioning earlier, valuing problem solvers. This is exactly kind of what I'm talking about. It's not just problem solvers, it's people who take initiative. I want to see people just do this stuff, and I know that could probably be a little bit scary or challenging, but like you have to keep in mind what kind of company we are. We're just like bootstrapping, moving super quickly, just trying to figure shit out. So we really value the people who are like, hey, look, I've got some ideas, like, can I try and do this? And maybe it costs something or whatever, but just make sure that you can really put your idea together and maybe approach the creative team or whatever, and they're gonna be stoked. Like, they want help. We all want help. So like if you're passionate about something, like, and this is a call to everyone, like if you're passionate about something and you want to do it, you got to make it known, right? Like, we're not necessarily going to know, and we're going to try and start doing a better job of that. Even Henry alluded to the fact that we could, not alluded, he just explicitly said that we could do a far better job of getting to know our team, and I don't disagree with him. I think that's very true. But it still helps for you to just come to us if there's something you really want to do, like merchandising. I'm glad that there's a forum here to kind of see that, but I'm sure there's other things, and we want to know.
So just when I like telling the story of certain collections to different customers, I know with the bootleg, that was the first one that we really did like a huge collection and really built a story around each of the products in it. So in like bootleg, Misconduct, and now Elemental is the name of Spring Summer 18. Do you have that name for fall winter yet, or is that too far off to really like gauge yet?
We had that working title of like New Wave, but that was more of a guiding. We were kind of playing with the theme of New Wave, so looking to like European New Wave fashion trends as a like a guiding light, but that is not the name of the collection yet. So no, we haven't gotten there. Like Elemental came at a much later date when we started putting together the assets and the lookbook and like building things out and researching what it could be called. So it will probably come at a later date when we start spending more time with pieces, more time with the collection.
Elemental was also just really bizarre. It just felt very meant to be. Like, even the colors that we had chosen, we didn't choose these colors like with that theme in mind, and it just worked out. And the colors are clay, salt water, stone. Like they're ridiculously elemental. We didn't even know. Like, it just shade. Just very kind of natural vibes. But yeah, I'm sure we'll figure out something with the next thing.
Yeah, a large part of it will have to do with where the shoot takes place.
I think so. Using some influence from that.
Some more storytelling stuff. So obviously Clocks of Colors does an amazing job of storytelling. We've got some really, really cool shit in the works. The next major collection that we'll be dropping, like we're dropping Aviators, which is kind of like more of a capsule. What's that?
Oh, it's like Buccaneers one.
Yeah. So the next big collection is called Buccaneers, and it's like it's pirate themed. Yeah, it's really wild. The product is absolutely insane. It's by far the craziest we've ever done. And we just finished meeting with Matt Barnes. That'll be our next big Matt Barnes production. And it's possible we're gonna have like a famous WWE wrestler and like somebody from Every Time I Die and shit. I'm not gonna say until I know, but yeah, this shoot's gonna be absolutely ridiculous too. We're gonna be likely filming it on a pirate ship and like have like a whole battle happening and like be thrown off the boat and stuff. So it'll be pretty cool. And then we've already planned out the one after that. And the one after that is gonna be like a kind of Western bank robber kind of theme. Very like Americana, and we're hoping to fake blowing up a bridge and then we rob a train at gunpoint, all this crazy stuff, super cinematic and crazy.
For the Buccaneer collection, you're gonna go back into the full brass pieces.
We have a lot of mixed metal stuff in it, but nothing full brass.
I was curious because I think I had someone, the person I mentioned this premium collection to Vitaly or someone, they asked if we were going to do gold or are you only going to stick with silver and brass. Are we looking into doing any premium materials like gold, platinum, or anything like that?
Not at this time. The thing is that most people don't understand how expensive gold is. It's ludicrously expensive. When you buy a wedding band, that's maybe 5 or 6 grams usually of gold. But if you're to make this ring that I'm wearing right now, this is I think 32 grams of silver or something insane. To produce that ring in gold would be thousands of dollars, many thousands, just cost, not even what we're gonna retail it for. So it's really challenging. Yeah.
Where do you see the brass moving? Because as far as my understanding was, it's we've been doing the bestsellers of brass. And
Yeah.
we get a lot of people asking brass. Do you think we'll continue doing more in brass or just bestsellers? Or are we trying to pull back?
I honestly, to be completely honest, I haven't really thought too much about it. I actually would be curious if you've had any feedback, because my concern is it's gonna change people's skin color, etc. And I don't really want people to perceive the brand as cheap or we're doing stuff for cheap products.
They're few and far between, but then I also feel it builds the niche for people who want gold or that other way. When they don't want the silver or the steel, they kind of will take the brass because of that.
I think that's true until they see it fade, and then they're and that's what bugs me. And the thing is with brass or anything that we're producing in Bali, we could plate it gold, but we'd be so there's other brands that are they're oh, real gold plated, and it's triple dipped and all that shit, and they think it's a really good thing. No, it's not good. It's actually terrible quality. When you dip metals, it wears off so quickly. The way that we plate everything is electroplating or ion plating. It's by far the best way you can plate something without spending ridiculous. There's other ones, but you don't do them in jewelry and stuff. But they can't do electroplating in Bali. So yeah, we're just kind of out of options. If we gold plate it, it's gonna be shit quality, and I don't really like shit quality stuff. So.
Is there shipping because I put clear nail polish on my brass or two, what about doing some kind of kit for the brass?
Yeah, we've looked into that stuff. It's just it's such a short-term fix.
We've only ever done one tungsten ring. I don't know, a friend of mine, he's rented some titanium rings the other day, and I was kind of thinking we've only done the one tungsten ring to hone in to only sterling and stainless steel.
We did more tungsten rings, and we did ceramic, and ceramic is actually technically a type of tungsten.
Okay.
Well, tungsten is actually kind of, it's weird. It's kind of a ceramic also. But yeah, no, tungsten is really cool. It's a fucking nightmare to work with. It's really limited. It's super hard to polish. It worked for the Lord because the Lord's such a basic style. But every single time we try and do more tungsten, it's just no, we can't do that. No, we can't do that. So we've just kind of put it aside.
Plating doesn't really stick to it either, from what I remember.
Yeah, the plating for it is really challenging, especially black. The other thing, titanium. Titanium is actually crap. Sorry, no offense if anyone has any titanium. It's just not a good metal. It scratches super easy. People are like, well, it's light. It's like marginally lighter than steel, and when you're talking about a brain, like it's imperceptible, so it's pretty pointless.
This is towards the open. What kind of forecasting do we use for the science and color?
We just basically make what we want our next. That's about the furthest that we go.
We had these WGSN, which is the color forecast. That was where we got the color. We actually pulled these colors for this season. That was for fall. We got wood rose and sunflower from there. But we decided, well, actually what happened was that sunflower color, every single brand in the world released a hoodie that same color last year. And we decided that we were going to work with that, the WPSN kind of build again. So these saltwater, clay, and shade were kind of born of our own. There's a website that's used for graphic design called Color. It's called
KLR?
Yeah, that one. Where it builds color palettes based off of like you give it one color, and then so we worked through that for like a day. Jay was our former director, and we just pulled out the colors that we like best with that palette.
Yeah,
like so it was much more manual than just looking into a trend forecast. But hopefully, what that means is when everybody's SSAT collections drop, nobody else is going to have those colors.
Do we obviously we know what their forecast is? How do we look? Like, are we quite different? Are we close?
We don't have an account because it's like how many thousands of dollars a year.
It's about $15,000 for a home user account.
One of the colors of the year is like ultraviolet. I feel like it's pretty far off from that.
Yeah, that's Pantone does that for. What's up, man? You got your hand up for a while. I figured it was related.
No, it's kind of related to the collection. Sizing. We've changed sizing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, we should update on that. So sizing, we've kind of always done what we generally saw in the market. You know, like for me, it was like I would wear a medium T-shirt but a large sweater, etc. Doesn't really make any sense. So we've tried to clean that up. So now you can, if you wear a medium T-shirt, you're wearing a medium long sleeve, you're wearing a medium sweater, etc. So.
Yeah, it also means that you can size up because a lot of the pieces right now, especially like the pullover hoodie, for example, the extra large is not a very big size, and anybody that's bigger than me, for example, probably will not be able to wear a pullover hoodie. So now the XL is big, like it's actually a big size. So it makes a lot more sense that we don't have to scale up double XLs.
With this kind of unification of the brand, kind of pushing forward in more of a elite sense of mind, I'm just curious about what the conversation is around, like doing Toronto Fashion Week or like on a global scale of sales, like how, like, are you planning on, doing an actual launch of a line? I mean, just we're talking about brand awareness across the, into the States and other places. There's a lot of local designers like Haley LCS that like goes down to the States, like she has, premieres that have done it. I'm just curious about what your guys' thoughts are on that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we were approached by Toronto Fashion Week again recently, and it did kind of cross my mind because I was like, look, like at this point, the clothing that we have coming out for Fall Winter 18 is definitely the level and standard that we could do a show.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't. To me, doesn't feel like us. Like I still see us like as much as we're trying to push to like a higher level or caliber. I still see us as a lifestyle brand, and that to me is more like capital F fashion. It just doesn't feel as us. I think if we ever did do something like that, like a launch that's almost runway-esque or fashion-esque, I think we would do it on our own terms. I don't think we would need to do it, through a Toronto Fashion Week or something. I'd rather rent out a Super 6 space and do something crazy and have a massive party with it afterwards or something. And I mean, I don't think we're going to lose our party culture. Like, that's one thing that we all still really like to do. And like, I'd rather just throw a huge fucking party than do a runway show.
I think to kind of finish that note too is that what we're most known for, if anybody was coming to Fashion Week or Midwest Fest, they would expect to see accessories. It's really hard to see accessories on a model that's walking down a runway. So it'd be really hard for us to showcase our most important products in any meaningful way. So yeah, that kind of limits our ability to do a bunch of like that.
I just wanted to speak really quickly to color, like we were talking about before too. We're actually kind of pulling a little bit back from color again, like we're more shifting back to like neutrals and stuff. Admittedly, we haven't had a ton of success with color, but on top of that, like when we did the trendy colors, we'd go to a trade show and every other brand was doing those exact colors. So we're like, oh, cool, like H&M's gonna have this same color for $12. And we don't want to be in that world, so we'd rather just do what we do really well, which is we do really solid basics, neutral colors. So like even the colors that are coming out this season, they're quite neutral. Like they can work with virtually anything, and that's kind of the idea. And I think we'll probably be leaning more towards that as we move forward, even if things are like these ultraviolet crazy colors. Even if you're to look at like fall winter, we don't even really have. Oh, we have one like kind of crazy like line. It's like a mint green. There's like one mint green. Yeah, but outside of that, it's mostly just like really nice fabrics and textures, which we've historically done a lot better with anyway. And I think it's most of our preference anyway too. So. Yep.
For Joe, say a couple of things about the future of advertising for the company.
Yeah.
Are you looking to expand the front end and back end development model?
Yeah, I sort of made a joke about that. No. Yeah, I mean, we did a pretty big overhaul of the Vitaly website 2016, and we don't really plan to do like a next iteration of the Vitaly website as opposed to just like a constant modification of which I can pretty much handle. And clocks is kind of like it's a if it ain't broke situation. So I would hesitate to think that we'll make a new clocks website anytime soon. So just knowing that we're not going to kind of like revamp both of those things, I would say then.
I guess this is for Greg and Shane. Where does retail fall in the Vitaly tree, and which stores have been killing it?
That's not fair.
The store with the most volume in probably Canada, of course, Yorkdale gets a lot. Yeah. We understand that. We're not taking that away from you guys. Great job, Yorkdale, okay? Stand up if you guys want to do your little dance. But what do you mean? Where does it fall? Like, what do you just wanted to get a shout out for Yorkdale?
No. Like obviously, online does the most, but between wholesale, retail. Okay.
Yeah, obviously retail's small and it's it's fast. We get a lot of great sales. It's a growing market. Like it's such a big part of the company to grow and become huge. Doing it in less than 6 months with how many stores we have, it's not gonna take over online or any wholesaling. It's just not possible. But what you guys are doing is unbelievable, and the numbers we're seeing are great. There's huge room for growth there. So this is why I said building depth and growing the culture is really important right now, because the people that step up and really help develop the retail channel right now probably have a huge position in the next couple of years of what could be massive, bigger than those things, but you don't know. It's hard. Retail is a tough thing.
So as far as retail goes, I'm sure that this is a question that's on a lot of your minds, so I'd rather just address it like right now. With the Yorkdale store, Square One store, West Edmonton Mall store, these are all obviously long-term pop-ups, so they do have an expiration date, so I'm sure a lot of you are concerned about that. I just want all of you to know we don't want to lose that store. It's just the way that it goes. They have crazy sales numbers that they want to see happen for us to take it permanently. I don't know why, because the numbers are perfectly sufficient for us. But regardless, they have so many empty stores all the time. We're basically just going to do everything in our power to continue just like shuffling. It's like, okay, if you want to kick us out of this one because you found somebody, can we take that one or that one or that one? So, our goal is to definitely keep a store going in Yorkdale. It might just be in a different location at the mall or whatever. No promises, but that's obviously a major goal for Greg. And he'll be leading that charge. And, in the worst case, it might be like a nearby mall that's a good one too. But we definitely don't want to lose those locations. They're really good for us. And, of course, we want to open more as well.
More like a general question moving away from retail. I'm just wondering, like, are we gonna have any like, brand ambassadors or like have bloggers or keep from any styles?
I'll feel this one. Yeah, so I glossed over this because in the interest of time, but what I wanted to touch on was our approach to collaborations this year. So we've traditionally looked at collabs. At Vitaly from like a scale perspective. So as a young kind of upstart brand, we wanted to partner with people who had a big social reach, who had a big cultural reach in order to build us up. And one of the big kind of pivots we're taking in 2018 is to kind of flip that on its head. So we're big enough now that we can start supporting members of our community and bringing them up. So we want to start partnering with people who we believe in culturally or aesthetically or musically, who don't necessarily have a reach of 2 million people that we're trying to piggyback off of, but rather who we can kind of align with on a more like artistic level. So in terms of bloggers and influencers and that type of stuff, it's going to be people who we really feel are genuinely fans of the brand already, or who are genuinely into wearing the product. So we are not going to measure those campaigns anymore by social engagement, by likes or followers, or kind of how we've viewed it in the past traditionally. Instead, we just want to get the right people in our product and get the right people excited about our product. So it might not mean we get, a post from fucking Tiesto or Kunai, but it could be like someone on the come up in Toronto who's like really sick artist who we want to get behind, like lots of Vitaly gear, and we set them up and watch them grow.
Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
Another really important thing to add to that, all of you should be brand ambassadors. Like that's a huge part of why we're doing this. We want to make sure that you know everything you can know about this brand and hopefully are proud of it. Like hopefully you're happy to work for us. It's not just a paycheck. And hopefully you see that we're trying to do as much good as we can, like not just like a run a charity kind of perspective, but we just want to be a good company. We want to be great designers, great creatives, great people in general. So those are things that we hope that you guys are going to kind of like pass on and push out to the world. And that's part of the reason that everybody gets 50% off on the product too. Like we're hoping that you're buying the product and like want to wear it and want to talk about it, etc. Yep.
So you guys did a good job on touching on why like products are made on that. But any good ideas also like depends on like I guess what are the drawbacks or like what can we improve on using this as a brand? Like my question is basically like what are some things that can keep moving on forward with like to improve the brand as a whole and improve the products as well?
Yeah, sure. I think the one thing that we consistently struggle with on pretty much company-wide is just like the speed of production sometimes and the hassles of thinking that something might only take a couple months and it ends up taking almost a year to finish. You would think that after all this time we would have figured out how long things take, but it just doesn't seem to work that way. Like we had like 6 months of lead time with this new packaging and it still somehow just didn't get done. There's just, a Chinese New Year just snuck up on us and completely shut down an entire country. And, we know that is coming every single year and just somehow we miss these things. And it's because we have so much on our plate all the time. It's like you see how much we've done in the last year and for the most part, it's us. We are the people that did all of those things. So think about how much there was and it's not a very big number of people. So one of the biggest things that happened last year was the guy who got deported. He really helped get us on track in a way that we had never been before. That's why I was able to show you guys a lookbook for FW18. We're currently right now, like we're about to drop spring summer, but we're still in FW17. And I have a lookbook already for FW18. So that's huge. Like that is the biggest thing that we're improving on. It's taking time though. You know, we most fashion brands are a full year ahead at all times. We are still just shy of a year ahead, but it's taken us 3 years to get here. So every year we've gotten a few steps closer to that. And this year we're almost caught up, and by next year we should be caught up to the proper fashion cycle, which will leave a lot more time for proper like measures to be taking place, that we don't have production issues or delayed items or anything like that.
Yeah, I think just, you know, like a huge theme for this entire talk, kind of on a broader perspective, is communication. Like that's something that we will continue to work on, and I think that needs to move both directions. You know, it was feedback that I received over and over again from the office team that, you know, they want to see better communication. But I've started to put things into place like these global reports, etc., so that I can get like feedback and communication as well. Like we all need to be communicating. It doesn't just need to be like coming top down or whatever, right? So I think that that's something that we can really work on. And the other thing I think we can work on is just being more organized in general. Sometimes just slowing down for a second to make a plan before you try and execute something can make a huge difference. And I think we probably all benefit from doing that. I know that like Mikey and I have seen huge changes in like how we're communicating and working together just by doing that. Like us sitting down and like, let's just make a sales plan. You know, and I think we can all kind of be doing that, improving that way.
I think I have one more point.
Like mess up the sizing for product like we had. Someone the other day came in with a large shirt and it was the exact same. It's an XL. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that kind of stuff is part of the reason we switched production.
Yeah, you should see a lot less issues like that in Portugal. We've, as far as I know, never had any issue like that with jewelry. Our jewelry manufacturer we've worked with since the very beginning of the company pretty much, and she is super reliable.
Yeah, we have had it happen from time to time in the warehouse, like generally catches that. So. Yep.
I'm just curious about when the rollout of like this lifetime warranty thing is going to happen. There's a lot of talk about it, but like I don't know. Like in the stores, like we're like, oh, well, it's lifetime warranty. We're like, I don't know how to process this. Like, where is it?
Yeah, it's been rolled out for a while, so maybe we just haven't done a good job of it. We need to Jackie.
I just feel like there's like some nuances to it. Like it's a limited lifetime warranty. Like of course if you've had something in my discretion like for 3 years and you've tugged on that chain like 10 times and it breaks, and you know, like then we go with 50% on any product, which I think is totally fair. Like most companies would offer something like that. But I think lifetime warranty, like maybe this is something we can discuss further, it's very broad.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, any lifetime warranty will have like some stipulations in it. Like you can't take like a lot of watch companies offer lifetime warranties, but you can't take that watch, run it over with a car, and be like, I want a new one.
Exactly. So I think it's really pitch it. Like if you just say lifetime warranty, no matter what, like come back in and we got you. Like I think that leaves too much open in being there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like obviously like we have to limit lifetime warranty. It's very fair. Like take a look at it. You know, like we cover this and this.
Yeah.
Like, you scratch your way on the brick wall because you punched it. Like.
Yeah. If anybody wants to read the lifetime warranty, all you have to do is go to any product page or like go to the Kunai website, or sorry, the Kunai product page. It should, you know what? It should have its own. It should have its own damn website. It should shut the rest of the company down. No, anyways, go to the Kunai page, and underneath the product description, it'll say this product is a lifetime warranty, which is hyperlinked. That links off to the lifetime, like the warranty stipulations.
Our lawyer just like rewrote it, so if you guys are interested.
It's so good now. I think it's just the difference of when you're on the website, you can click it, you can read it yourself.
Yeah.
But when you're in a store selling something to somebody, it's the way you explain it.
Yeah, so
don't pitch a product to sell it with the lifetime warranty.
Well, make sure that Greg reaches out to all the retail managers and gets a hard copy to every single person, so you guys can kind of commit that to memory and figure out what the stipulations of the lifetime warranty are.
As to the warranty, most stores have return policies and warranty policies posted at their cash desk.
Okay.
And on these. Yeah. So we should aim to have a copy of that for a customer to read at the desk, so that no matter what we're covered, we can say, well, it's right here.
Yeah, we can easily get displays with laminate displays or something like that.
If you can send an email to Greg or something as a reminder, like we can execute those things super quickly. These are the kinds of things that I'm talking about. Like somebody just bring that info to us. You know what I mean? Like we'll activate on these things, but you know most of the upper management, like we haven't even worked with retail. Like we have a lot to learn, and you guys are the experts. And we need to learn from these.
Maybe we have questions about QC. Just tell them like how many of the like products we check, like what leads to a bigger QC, why things end up in the wrong box, etc. Just to touch on it.
Basically, warehouse QC is everything by 40%. Basically, the process is one person picks up a box, they open it up, we do measurements on everything, 40% of those. We usually do 5 of each size and styles. Measure those out, QC it that way. We even take clothes home and wash to find out what it's like afterwards as the material held up. And then we find issues like, you know, like recently our fabric seems to be contaminated now with blue dots. Now we have to find out why. As far as jewelry goes, everyone is measuring. We all have measuring tapes. That's we all. It's a little hard to explain because there's so much to it, but it's essentially that, yeah. But it's the way you guys are moving it now to Portugal, it's going to be using most of it. So we here in North America can do less receiving and more shipping, which is always more to get it off the floor, on the shelves, in the system, and to customers. Any other questions? Do you have questions about QC or like issues? Or what you want to see from us, maybe? I guess we're doing okay.
All right. Well, I think that concludes this. Everybody can go home.
I got a question.
All right, my class one.
Where's Vitaly going in 2019 in the future? Space.
Yeah, we're sending our next collection to space. That's the next photo shoot. I don't know, we're working on Spring 19 right now. We're doing stuff in technical fabrics. I don't really know. We're just going to keep doing our thing. We've got 2018 planned, and that's pretty good for us. So. Thanks a lot, guys.